ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dinozor Gaming, where we learn to be a better player. It is finally upon us. The reveal season for Secrets of Power has started, and I could not be more excited. Last week we saw the Spotlight decks in all of their glory with the amazing new leaders and mechanics, but this week is when the real fun starts. We are being drip-fed that content left and right, whether it's through FFG or other content creators. Every day there's a bunch of new spoilers to check out. And now that the first week is over, let's go ahead and do a quick recap of them. First up, we're going to check out the leaders here. First one being Cunning, Villainy, Slime More. Action, pay 1, tap. If there are 4 or more exhausted units in play, create a spy token. And just a very quick recap, a spy token is a 0-2 official with raid 2. So more or less a 2-2 that could be attacked into fairly easily. Is paying 1 for that without a condition worth it? That is debatable. Of course, a 2-2 for 1 in general is good, but if it's a 0-2 with grade 2, questionable. And on top of that, you're adding that condition where there needs to be 4 or more exhausted units in play. A good opponent will see that you're playing Slime More and try to manipulate the board state where that doesn't happen. That said, there are some decks against which this will be very easy to attain. For example, if you're playing against a deck that tries to lane dodge you, for example, Vader Cunning, it's going to be very obvious that both players are not going to interact with their boards with each other. That way there will definitely be multiple exhausted units in play. It will be very easy to trigger that at this point. That said, what's interesting here is that this is one of the few leaders that work exceptionally well in Twin Suns, because the 4 exhausted units can be from any player. So if you're playing with 4 players and each player just plays a single unit, you're already meeting that condition. So I think this is going to be a spectacular leader in that sense. Now on to the flip side, however, she is very different. 5 cost, 3/6, fairly decent stat line. Force, Imperial, Official, all 3 very important traits in all facets of the game. And on attack, you may deal 2 damage to an exhausted unit. You are playing Cunning. There's a good chance that you are exhausting your opponent's cards, and if not, I mean, every card is going to exhaust itself by attacking. So very easy to meet condition here, and dealing 2 damage to a unit is very good. It is not locked to ground. You could be hitting space with this, no problem. I think this is a fantastic unit side for this leader, and definitely tries to make up for the leader side that's a little bit weaker. Next up, we have Dedra Miro. Aggression, Villainy, action, pay 1, tap, choose an enemy unit. Its controller may deal 2 damage to it. If they don't, draw a card. Now, of course, this is very reminiscent to I Am Your Father from set 1, and rightfully so, because it's pretty much the same effect. And just like that card, you have to keep in mind that you will never really get the effect that you want. Your opponent's going to choose whatever they believe is worse for you. Given the limited information that they have, of course, they don't know your hand. That said, it's not always a bad thing, because you are paying 1, and no matter what, you're getting one of the 2 effects, and they are both pretty good. Paying 1 for 2 damage is something we've seen pretty worthwhile in either Daring Raid or Kit Fisto, and if not, paying 1 to draw a card seems to be about on course for what other leaders are doing to draw a card. So no matter what, you're going to get your money's worth. But what makes Dedra Miro very interesting is her unit side, because she flips on 4 as a 2/5. That's the exact same stat lines as Sabine, and it has an even more aggressive effect than Sabine, because while you have more cards in hand than an opponent, this unit gains raid 2. So on turn 3, this is going to flip over as a 2/5 and attack your opponent for 4, assuming that at some point you've drawn a card, or your opponent has discarded a card, or, more importantly, maybe you've used this set's mechanic, Plot. Because you're deploying on 4, it's very likely your opponent hasn't deployed their leader yet. So if you deploy Dedra Miro and immediately plot out a card, say Jar Jar Binks or Masamida, you did not play a card from your hand this turn. Then if your opponent plays a single card in any way whatsoever from their hand, they are now down a card from you, and you have raid 2. And the best part is, both of those cards that I mentioned buff Dedra up. So if you play, for example, Jar Jar, she becomes a 4/7 that is swinging for 6. This is turn 3. That is an absurd amount of stats for turn 3, and sometimes creates an insurmountable lead in the race of base damage. So I think Dedra Miro is going to be a fantastic leader. On top of that, I didn't even talk about her traits. Imperial, Official, both fantastic traits. Official working very well with a lot of the cards in this set, and Imperial having quite a bit of support in the past as well. I'm sure that's going to continue going forward. Now the third and maybe least leader that was revealed is Satine Kryze. Action, tap, heal up to 2 damage from a unit. If you do, deal that much damage to your base. Very interesting effect here. We've already seen Obi-Wan have somewhat of a similar effect, except it healed 1 from a unit, and instead of dealing it to your base, it did it to an opponent. Admittedly, that was on the unit side. But I mean, look, healing from your own units is in theory a good effect, but most good decks, knowing that you have a heal effect, will not give you the right conditions to get that heal off. They'll finish off your units before you can use it. And even then, do you want to be dealing damage to your base by healing your units? I think we're going to need to see some of the cards that are designed to go with Satine Kryze here. We haven't seen them just yet. If there are a lot of cards that benefit from being healed, or that come in injured, or cards that just get stronger the more damage is on your base, there could definitely be something here. But overall, so far, it's a very underwhelming effect. But what makes Satine Kryze even more underwhelming, unfortunately, is her flip side. She flips on 5 as a 0/8 with Restore 4. Restore, of course, being one of the best keywords, you want it to be on a unit that can actually attack stuff. A 0/8 essentially means you're skipping an action, so to speak, by attacking, because you're not actually dealing damage to anything. And in order to heal 4 from your base, and likely you're the one who put the damage on the base because of the leader side, I think this is an absurdly bad stat line for a leader. It's going to die so easily. It doesn't matter what your opponent has in play. They'll just attack into this for free. Restore can't heal herself. It'll just heal the base. I think this is definitely one of the bottom 5 leaders that we've seen so far, but with the caveat that there might be some very interesting support that comes for this card. We just haven't seen it yet. Now onto the units here. Starting off with Vigilance, we have Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle as the first one. It is a legendary. Right off the bat, a 4-cost Vigilance, Villainy, 3/5, first order vehicle transport. Each friendly unit with Sentinel gets +0/+2. We've had a few Anthem effects so far in this game, and for those who don't know, Anthem just means an effect that gives extra stats to all of your units, so to speak. In this case, it's going to be only your ground units with Sentinel. But this card has a lot of potential. If there are enough Sentinels for you to be playing on the ground, if you have a deck of Sentinels, so to speak, let's say you're playing blue-green and you have Pike Sentinel on turn 1, and then you have Dark Trooper, Phase Dark Trooper on turn 2, you can play this on turn 3, and now both of your Sentinels have 5 health, and Phase Trooper, if it doesn't die in a single hit, will keep getting bigger. It's just a small example of the kind of shenanigans that you can do with this. Is it going to be played in every single deck? Absolutely not. It is not a generic staple of a legendary, but I think its effect is so strong that given the right deck, this will definitely shine. Next up, we have on the Heroism side, Chandrilan Sponsor, 2-cost, 2/3 with Restore 2. Very simple. We've seen quite a few cards like this. It is a common. You're going to see it quite a bit in draft. It has official trait, which is useful in this set. Great card. We'll see a fair bit of play in limited. It might even see some minor play in premium. Moving on to 5-cost Coronet. Once again, Heroism Vigilance, 4/6 for 5. Mandalorian Vehicle Transport. And Restore 1, and each other friendly unit gains Restore 1. That effect we've already seen on Home 1 is pretty good, but Home 1 also brings another unit in play. The problem with this card is that for its cost, there are other cards that do the same thing a little bit better. If you're aiming for just the Restore, you could be playing a plethora of other strong cards that do it even earlier, like Yoda, Quill, or even the Sponsor we just saw previously. And if you're looking for a big body in space, for that same cost, we'd have Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite. I think this is a very interesting card, and it will be very relevant in Limited, but unlikely to be used at all in premium. Next up, we have Bo-Katan Kryze, a 9-cost card. You would hope that this is good. Let's see what it is, right? Vigilance, Heroism, 8/8, already good stat lines. Mandalorian trait, somewhat relevant, not all the time. When played, give each enemy unit -3/-3 for this phase. And when an enemy unit is defeated, give an experience token to a friendly unit. That is a crazy strong effect. It is essentially Snoke, but just a little bit better when played. Let's be real, most of the time when you play Snoke, it dies immediately, so it might as well be a when played effect. But on top of that, if you do defeat units with this, you're giving experience tokens to friendly units. So if you somehow end up wiping up 2 to 3 units on your opponent's board, which is not an unrealistic scenario, you can buff another one of your units up, or even make Bo-Katan like a 10-10 or 11-11. Pretty good. The negative aspect here is the fact that she costs 9. That is very late in the game, and Heroism in general does not want to go that late. Usually for this cost, you'd rather be playing something that will close out the game, like a Crate Dragon, for example. But we don't have any big cards like this in Vigilance Heroism so far, so this is a great addition to the game. But even more importantly, this is not a legendary. This is a rare. This is something that you are going to be seeing in limited. Fantastic card. It might not shine off. It might not shine right off the bat, but you will be seeing this card quite a bit, especially if rotation hits and we lower the power level of the late game cards. If we stop seeing cards like Avenger and Devastator, Bo-Katan is gonna be one of the most deadly cards out there. Now, following up, we're moving into command here. We have the Primor Personal Carrier, 8 cost, 6/6 Overwhelm. When played, give this unit an experience token for each ground unit you control. Absolutely unplayable. At least in premium, right? If you have 3 ground units in play, you just played an 8 cost 9/9 that does nothing else. That's just not good enough. There's better stuff for its cost. You were not going to play this. That said, this is an absolute bomb and game-ending card in Draft and Sealed. So I think this is what that's made for, and that's okay. Clearly a card that you're going to see a lot during your pre-releases, so keep your eye on that. Next up, we have, once again, Dedra Miro here. 6 cost, Command Villainy, 5/5, Ambush on attack, create a spy token. So if we're considering the spy tokens stats into this, this is a 6 cost 5/7 ambush with, I guess, rate 2. But 5/7 ambush is something we've seen already for 6 cost. We have 8th Brother who does pretty much the same thing. It's okay. It's not the best card, and just because of its low stats, I don't think it'll see much play. But once again, a great limited card. We're seeing quite a few of those here. It's an interesting change of pace, where most of the cards that we're looking aren't flat out useless. They're actually pretty good depending on the context. And in this case, the context is limited, and that's not something we can ignore anymore, especially with the amount of planetary qualifiers or sectionals and regionals that are happening for limited only. You have to keep these cards in mind. Next up, we have our, I'm definitely going to mispronounce this name, Arinda Price. Apologies for that. 4 cost, 4/4, Aggression, Villainy, Imperial. When defeated, you may defeat another friendly unit. If you do, deal 4 damage to each enemy base. A very aggressive, good effect in general. A lot of people have been considering playing her in Thrawn, and absolutely, if you have 2 units just lying around that you want to defeat, go for it. Losing this and killing off 2 other units to deal 8 damage to your opponent's base isn't an insignificant amount of damage, especially if you're playing something like Thrawn that has a lot of early aggressive indirect damage or other forms of when defeated damage. So she's an interesting card, but it is a very niche effect. You probably don't want to play this in any other deck. That said, there's definitely an argument to be made playing this in, for example, a Dedra Miro deck. If you're playing an aggressive deck anyways, it's okay to have a unit that will kill off another unit, assuming the damage that it's doing is enough to put your opponent within lethal range. So to speak, it's kind of like a K2SO that's played in Sabine. And it's an interesting card, and if we have good disposable units, it'll see play. Next up, we have the Fulminatrix, whatever, Space Matrix. And it is an 8 cost Aggression Villainy, 9/7, capital ship, first order vehicle. When played and on attack, you may deal 4 damage to a ground unit. This is the we have Devastator at home card, so to speak. It is just a little bit better in stats, and that is relevant because 6 has become the key health point that is easy to do with cards like Anakin Skywalker or Luke Skywalker. So having that extra 1 is enough to dodge some of those removals. And on top of that, it's not only when played, it does the same effect on attack, but it is limited to ground only, whereas Devastator is able to hit base, which is a very big aspect to it. It's a very good card. I just don't think that you would want to play this over Devastator for the exact same cost. Yet again, just another bomb in limited though. Great card, a good addition. If you ever want that 4th or 5th Devastator, this is a good option for sure. Next up, we have Cunning. I believe we may have seen this earlier. I don't think this was revealed this week. But since it's here, I'll do a very quick thing on this. It is 3 cost, 3/2, Heroism, Aggression. When played, you may defeat all non-unique upgrades on a unit and plot. Closest comparison here is going to be disabling Fang Fighter, and rightfully so. It's only defeating non-unique upgrades, so most of the time that's everything that's not a pilot, right? And the fact that it's plot makes it so you can very early on resource it and not worry about it, and then when you do need it, bring it out. And that is absolutely what you want in your tech cards, your cards that are very niche. And if there's ever a deck that plays a ton of upgrades, like for example Kylo Ren, you could just throw this into your resources and bring it out whenever you need it. It's a great hard counter card. Next up, we have It's Not Over Yet, an event. You may ready a unit that didn't attack or enter play this phase. Create a spy token. Interesting card here. You need a unit that hasn't attacked or hasn't just been played, which means most of the time you're going to be playing this either against a deck that's exhausting your own cards, or more realistically, you are playing a deck that is exhausting your own units. Aren't too many of those running around just yet, but a good example of is Admiral Akbar, exhausting your own units to create more X-Wings. You can exhaust something and then use It's Not Over Yet to re-ready it. Is that worth it? Probably not, but I guess in a niche deck, maybe it'll... who am I kidding? This card is not playable. Charged with Treason. I think that... What is this card? Oh my god. Open Fire for 3 deals 4 damage. Daring Raid for 1 deals 2. And we have seen a few 2-cost cards that deal 3 with some conditions. So if you're telling me that you need to pay 1 more resource and show 2 red cards in your hand, or 1 if you're playing double red, in order to deal 1 more damage than Open Fire, that's insane. There's absolutely no chance in hell that this card sees a single day of use. It is one of the weakest damage cards that we have ever seen. And the worst part is, because it is an event with Disclose, if you don't have 2 other red cards in your hand, you just can't play this. It doesn't do anything. Garbage. Absolute unplayable trash. Following that up, however, we have Topple the Summit. 5-cost aggression, deal 3 damage to each damaged unit. Cute effect and plot. Adding plot to that effect turns this from a mediocre card to one of the strongest, most meta-defining cards we have ever seen. This card is bonkers because in some decks, this will be a surprise board wipe out of nowhere, and it is extremely hard to play around. A good example is going to be in Kira. If Kira flips, she heals everything back to full and then deals half of their health and damage. That means anything at all that has 6 health or less, as long as they don't have shields or some other form of protection, of course, they'll be healed back up to 6, they'll go down to 3, and then this will finish them off. And on top of that, this will also deal that 3 damage to Kira, so it'll be a 7-1. So you're clearing the board and dealing 7 to your opponent's base. Insane card. This will single-handedly eliminate any aggro matchup that Kira needs to deal with. Small caveat, of course, that this won't work on 1 health units because half of 1 is not a round number, right? But honestly, great card. Any other leader that comes out that deals damage when deploying, this is going to be worth watching out for. We have Boba, of course, the Boba that's currently played with Data Vault. You could play this in there. On flip, you'll be dealing 4 damage. You could spread that out to 3 different targets if you want, and then Topple the Summit comes in and cleans it up. Will you want to do that in Boba is debatable, because usually that's more of an aggressive deck. You don't care too much about board control, but it is an option. And I think this card, just the existence of this card, will warp the meta, even if it doesn't see play. Next up, we have Trade Federation Delegates. Moving into Cunning here. Cunning Villainy. 5 cost, 3/4. When played, create 2 spy tokens. If we are taking the spy tokens into consideration, this is a 5 cost, I don't know, 7/8 if you want to exaggerate. It's a common. It's going to see some limited play. Otherwise, nah. Next up, we have No One Ever Knew. Trick. Very relevant for Jabba the Hutt. Cunning, Villainy. For each friendly official unit, exhaust an enemy unit. It's interesting because if we do get a lot of official decks or decks that use spy tokens, this could prove useful. It's somewhat of a one-sided outmaneuver, and we're seeing outmaneuver see a fair bit of play at the moment in the meta. Any deck that wants to lane dodge and just mess with your opponent's board plays outmaneuver. So this serves a similar condition, I guess. However, if your opponent knows that you're playing this, they'll play around it. It's easy to keep your officials in check. It's going to depend entirely on if an official deck exists. Moving on, we have Taladurith, Heroism Cunning, 3 cost, 3/3 Imperial Rebel. Not the first one we've seen with these traits, but still an interesting one. And each other friendly unit gains Hidden and Plot. Very strong effect. Plot in general is great, and the more of these effects that we see, the better Plot gets, because it's kind of like a toolbox that you're setting up to make your leader whatever you want it to be. Think of all the times that you have flipped over your leader and it has immediately been ambushed into by Plo Koon or Maul and killed in a single hit. Well, with Taladurith, that will not be possible because your leader will come out, so will Tala. Your leader will be hidden, your opponent will not be able to attack into it, and potentially they'll need to spend an action to get rid of Tala. And in that action, your leader will now be able to attack or do whatever it wants to do. So at that point, even if when Tala is defeated, you lose the hidden, you've done what you want to do with your leader. It's okay if it gets hit or if it gets defeated. It is a great card and potentially a sideboard card or just a card that you'll throw into your resources and forget about unless you absolutely need it. Next up, we have the Mandalorian, another big heroism unit. 8 cost, Cunning Heroism, 6/8. Decent traits. Bounty Hunter has some uses. Mandalorian, less so, but still somewhat relevant. Ambush, and when this unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may choose an enemy non-leader unit. This unit captures it. Interesting effect. The issue with a card like this is that it will likely ambush something a little bit bigger, I suppose, with those stats. You don't want to waste 8 cost to get rid of a little 2/2, right? But that said, it is capturing something else. So it is somewhat of a 2-for-1, especially if you're playing against something that isn't hard control and immediately kills the Mandalorian. There's no condition to what you're capturing, so it doesn't matter if it has higher stats, if it's in a different arena, how many upgrades it has. So yeah, I guess you could play this, kill off your opponent's little 2/2 token, or you can kill their spy token and then capture something really big that they have. But a card like this is pretty vulnerable to hard removal, and they're just going to get their unit back right away. It's another one of those big boys that will see a fair bit of play in limited, but likely just a bit not good enough for premium. Moving on, we have Sinara Sun, 7 cost, 7/7. Hidden for each friendly unit, on attack for each friendly unit, ready a friendly resource. I mean, look, last set we got Qui-Gon Jinn, which was an even better 7-drop, and that is seeing no play whatsoever. And that is because at the 7 cost, we have Han Solo. I mean, look, if you don't have Han Solo, you're gonna play Qui-Gon. If you don't have Qui-Gon, maybe you'd consider this. I don't see it. Why is this a legendary? Like, I don't think this will see any play. It's legendary, so I can't even say it's good for limited. You're not likely going to be seeing it that much. 7 cost, 7/7 hidden is not good enough to see play. Next up, we have Grassroots Resistance. 4 cost, deal 3 damage to a unit, heal 3 damage from your base. This is a poor man's Vigilance, I guess. I mean, yeah, you're defeating something that has 3 or less, and then you're healing a little bit from your base. Cute little card. Great pack filler, I suppose, for draft or limited. 0 play whatsoever in premium. And not last but not least, we have Elia Kane. 4 cost, Villainy, 3/6, Imperial New Republic. We haven't seen New Republic too much, hasn't been much support for it just yet. But Imperial is great. Raid 1, so this is essentially a 4 cost 4/6. Fantastic stat line. Usually you would expect a bit weaker because it is a Villainy only card. And on top of that, when played, look at 3 enemy resources of your choice. You may defeat one of them. If you do, its controller puts the top card of their deck into play as a resource and readies it. So obviously, you can compare this to Scanning Officer. A Scanning Officer was made to counteract some of the smuggle shenanigans that were happening. However, unlike Scanning Officer, the new resource that's coming in does not stay exhausted. So it's less about counting your opponent's curve and more about getting rid of that plot card that you just don't want them to play. I think it's a fantastic card. Even if you don't hit a plot card, you're putting down a 4 cost 4/6 in play. And that is premium stats so far, at least in the game, unless this set somehow definitely power creeps to that stat line. I don't think so. But I think this is a great card. It will see a fair bit of play, especially if plot does take over the meta. I'm not saying it will, but if it does, at least you have a way to snipe out that one plot card every now and then and deny your opponent's perfect plan. All that said, guys, that is it for this week. But you know what? In a couple of days, it's going to be a new week, and we're going to get a bunch of new spoilers. I would love to hear what you guys think. Which one of these cards is your favorite? Or if not, what card are you hoping to see in Secrets of Power? I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a subscribe, a like, a comment, anything you want to help us out here. And if you like what you see, I hope I will see you guys next time.